Alrighty, good evening everyone. My name is Danielle Holman and I'm the Director of Admissions of the Teak Fellowship, and I'll have my colleagues introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, my name is Megan Aguirre and I am the Assistant Director for the Teak Fellowship.
Hello everyone, my name is JC Pinales and I'm one of the admission counselors at the Teak Fellowship.
Thank you guys. So we're so happy that you're joining us for this information session this evening. We're going to start right on time to share, what makes Teak a great program. We'll talk about the details of the middle school program, our high school program, and then also the application process. So Teak is a 10-year fellowship. It's free for families, and we support students in their academic growth as well as their personal development. And to get started, I hope that students are sitting with their parents as they're going through this information session. So I'd like to ask, can you share with me something you think about in your future? What would you like to do in the future, whether you're thinking about high school, about college, or what type of job you might want to be have in the future, or what you want to be? In the chat, if you can share some of those ideas. A little shy today. No worries. Well, quiet crowd today, but that's all right. So in the past, we've had students talk about dreams of becoming doctors, dreams of going to great colleges, dreams of becoming lawyers, becoming journalists, becoming politicians. Like, we know we need some good politicians nowadays, the way our government is going right now. So many different pathways that our students think about at this time in their life. And what we really think about what we provide at Teak is really the resources and opportunities to get to those types of dreams that they have. So we're not, putting the ideas in the student's head, but really that passion and that motivation that they start with, we're really about providing the access to the opportunities, the resources, and the network for students to be successful, whatever their dreams are. And so Teak is a program that believes that motivation and potential, not economic circumstances, should determine a student's future. So we unlock outstanding education and transformative experiences for exceptional New York City students who use these opportunities for their lives to change their lives and the world around them. So what all that means is that we believe that all of those fantastic dreams that our students come with are possible for them, and it's really just about providing the types of educational experiences and opportunities to get them to those goals. Our program rests on 4 core values: scholarship, leadership, citizenship, and fellowship. And these 4 values are things that we look for in the application process when we are recruiting new students, but they're also the 4 core values that our program rests upon. So when we're thinking about adding new classes, providing new opportunities for our students, we're consistently thinking about how do we develop, the curiosity within our students. That's a connection to scholarship. How are we providing students with an opportunity to set an example for their peers, for their community? How are we setting them up to be great leaders in the future? How are we informing the way that they develop their moral compass, becoming strong citizens of their community and having a commitment to doing what's right? And then how are we demonstrating opportunities for students to be good fellows, good friends, and show compassion for their peers, as well as their teachers and just the network that we have? Because we know that success doesn't just come from your individual work, but really the collective success of the folks all around you supporting that growth. As I mentioned in the beginning, we are a 10-year program. So we start with students when they are in 6th grade, and we support them all the way through college graduation. And I like to start with the impact because that 10-year span can seem really long, and it's important for students and families to know, what is this investment all about? So 84% of our students are the first in their family to attend college. And I think that's really important for us to note, not just because it demonstrates the success of our students, but it also demonstrates the impact that they're having on their communities. So many of our students have younger siblings, neighbors, cousins, other family members that say, now that I've seen my brother, my sister, my older cousin do this, I can do it too. We've actually even had parents come back and tell us that, their child attending college inspired them to go back to school. And so our students are really setting an example and really impacting what's possible for the community around them. 100% of our students have matriculated, which means attended highly competitive colleges at a fraction of the cost, and they're very successful there. So the SAT, which is the test that students need to take to get into university, our students are scoring almost over 300 points higher than the national average, which is incredibly, important, and we're so proud of the work that they're able to do to be successful at the schools that they go to, and they go at a fraction of the cost. So for our class of 2020, 93% of college tuition costs were covered through financial awards, which means that our students are going to these great universities like Yale and Columbia at a fraction of the cost, and so finances aren't a reason why they aren't able to take advantage of these great opportunities. Now, what makes Teak special? So you may have heard of other types of enrichment programs, college preparatory programs, tutoring programs. So what is Teak's secret sauce, so to speak? There are two major components of the Teak way. One is highly individualized student support. So our program is intentionally small. Our class sizes are between 12 and 16 students, which means that every student is known and seen. We have the opportunities to understand what are their strengths, what are their areas for growth, and how can we really cultivate the skills that they need to be successful. We intentionally make sure that our students get that individualized attention. In addition to the access to teachers, students will also have the support of their dean. So we have a dean advising system, which means that we have staff that are specifically committed to making sure that our students are navigating the experience well. So not just academically, but also, socially, are they adjusting well? We're checking in, are you getting enough sleep? How are you balancing your Teak course load with your schoolwork course load? So the deans are really there to make sure that our students are successful in all areas. And then lastly, the mentor program. So mentors are volunteers, all college graduates who volunteer to get to know our students and really show them the pathway to what college can look like. So it can be a resource, a friend of sorts, like a big brother or a big sister, and a really great way for our students to receive support outside of the classroom. And another element of our program is rigorous and relevant curriculum. So Teak is not a program just about catching up. So we are actually offering advanced curriculum. So we want our students to be successful in the highly competitive high schools and colleges that they eventually go to, which means that we're showing them, high level content at a young age. Part of that content is STEM content. So that's science, technology, engineering, and math. That's increasingly important, especially right now when, we are using technology more than ever to communicate as well as to do our work. So we want our students to be well versed in those fields. We also emphasize multicultural history. So we don't just focus on US history told in the traditional sense, but we think about, Latin American history, African American history, Asian American history. How do the immigrant stories and narratives that have informed US history, how can we elevate those and have our students understand that history and understand how it's just as insignificant as the kind of traditional history that we typically learn. And then another element of our curriculum is leadership and public speaking. So we are an academic enrichment program, so we have, a rigorous course load, but we also want our students to develop those personal skills that will allow them to be successul in high school and college. And part of that is leadership and public speaking. And so I know public speaking can be really nerve-wracking for a lot of people. I'll tell you, I was so nervous when I first started public speaking. I had to take a class. I had to learn how to feel comfortable speaking in front of others. And it's something that you grow and develop into over time. And we believe that our students should have that opportunity to, get out those nerves in middle school so that when it comes to high school, when it comes to college, when they have presentations to give in class, or they're running for student government, or they're doing these great, amazing things that they want to do, they have that confidence to share their voice and share their perspective. Being a good public speaker doesn't mean that you're necessarily the loudest person in the room all the time. It means that you're able to convey your point of view with confidence, and really that is so important for all leaders. And so in those areas, our Teak is really committed to making sure that our students are developing into great scholars and really great change makers. We want our students to be able to, whatever field they feel they choose, to feel confident and comfortable in leading the way in that field. And all of that starts with our middle school academy. So our program is an enrichment program, which means that our students will stay at their middle schools from 6th grade through 8th grade and then participate in Teak either during their summers or after school. So our summer institute is 6 weeks for 3 summers. So the summer before 7th grade, 8th grade, and 9th grade. Normally, it is in person. So we have a partnership with schools in Manhattan. So it'll be at a Manhattan location. This year, because of the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, everything had to be virtual. So we transitioned to a virtual experience. I'll talk a little bit more about what that looked like for our students. But we are fully prepared to do that in case that's necessary next summer, but hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be able to be in person again. And so in that case, our Summer Institute would take place at our Manhattan location. And then our after school program, which is called High School Foundations, takes place in the outer boroughs, so either the Bronx, Brooklyn, or Queens. If you live in Upper Manhattan, so Washington Heights or Harlem, you would commute to the after school program in the Bronx location. And if you live in Lower Manhattan, you would commute to the Brooklyn location, which is in Brooklyn Heights. So both are pretty easily accessible. So the after school program is twice a week during 7th and 8th grade. And like I said, in those 3 offsite locations. Currently, our students are participating in the virtual experience, so they're not commuting anywhere, but normally it would be at a school site. So the Summer Institute, I'll start with that, is a rigorous academic program from July through August. So it'll be July after the July 4th holiday through the 1st or 2nd week of August. And that emphasis on rigor is important. It means that our students are going to be challenged. Like I said, they aren't going to just be repeating what they've already done in 6th grade, but it's an opportunity for them to learn new material, advanced material, get ahead, and also gain exposure to things that they may not be seeing in their current schools. It's a Monday through Friday schedule. In person, it's 8:30 to 4, but the virtual experience, we shortened the school day because that's a long time to be on Zoom. But nonetheless, students should expect to have a full caseload or full course load during the summer. We have our academic programming in the mornings, and then we'll have enrichment programming in the afternoons. So that's when students will take part in electives. So whether that's a singing or journalism or sports, we do different field trips in the afternoon, and also when the Shakespeare and public speaking class takes place. It is a private school atmosphere, so that means, small class sizes. Many of our teachers are private school teachers during the academic year, and they work with us during the summer to make sure our students are getting that high level instruction. And it means that we have high expectations of our students. There's a lot of support, but we're also here to really make sure that our students are up for a challenge. And so it's really an opportunity for our students to get to know new and engaging material and really dive in. On the right-hand side, you can see the list of some of the sample of the classes that we offer. Some of the classes I'd like to highlight are coding. So as I talked about before, an emphasis on making sure our students are well-versed in science and technology, as that's kind of the way of the world and the way of the future. And then another class I'd like to highlight is our Shakespeare and public speaking class. So Shakespeare is definitely advanced for our middle school students, but we're not afraid of that. We want our students to take on that challenge. We want to offer that support, and also an opportunity to engage in theater. So there are so many ways in which theater is a great medium for students to develop their confidence, to learn how to work with others in a collaborative way, to put on a show, to engage in literature, so really understanding the script and the lines, and then really to work on their public speaking, as I talked about before. That's a skill that will serve our students no matter what they choose to do, whether they want to be, a lawyer arguing cases in court, or whether they want to, even being a journalist. You need to be able to articulate your voice, not just writing, but also, maybe you need to talk to your editor about why you want to write a specific article. And the best way to be able to do that is to feel confident in what you're saying. And so public speaking is also a great pillar of our programming and making sure our students are successful in that. In addition, we also have test preparation. So all of our students will be preparing to attend competitive high schools. So we make sure that they are well equipped to navigate that process. As I mentioned before, of course, we had to respond to COVID like everyone else in these trying times. And so I'll highlight a few of the ways in which we transitioned our program to a virtual experience. So first, all of our classes were immediately remote. So starting in March, we were able to transition quickly to make sure that we could still offer the same high-level instruction to all of our students. So we didn't really miss a beat there. And we made sure that all of the students had what they needed to be successful, given that our program was shifting to an online platform. So regardless of the COVID experience, all of our students received Chromebooks to participate in the program. But for students that needed hotspots, for our older students who maybe needed computers, blue light glasses, noise canceling headphones, really whatever they needed to be able to take part in the classes, we offered that to our students. In addition, we also increased the mental health services and support that we offered, because we know that this can be a challenging time. And so we have a program called Teen Talk, which is when students can talk to trained mental health counselors, and it's a free service for our students. So making sure that they have a safe and stigma-free space to really talk about things that they may be feeling. And we also have a partnership with Talkspace, which is a telehealth mental health service that some of our older students used. While we are an academic program, we also emphasize the importance of nurturing the body and the arts as well. So we also offered virtual yoga classes and a filmmaking class, so students didn't get to miss out on that artistic and physical expression, even though it was in the virtual context. So I'll introduce one of our students, Chloe. She is currently a 9th grader at a boarding school called Choate. And I had a chance to chat with her about what her experience has been like in the program. And she shared a few things with me. So she shared, Teak is a welcoming community that accepts you as you are. And I thought that was a really insightful thing for her to say, because she didn't say, oh, Teak just helps me with my homework or it helps me get ahead. But she really feels like Teak is a place that she feels comfortable, that she feels at home, and she feels accepted. And I think that's really what we strive to create in our fellowship, a place where students feel that they can rely on the other members of their community. She applied to Teak because she felt like she wasn't being challenged at her school, and she's really enjoyed the one-on-one help that she's gotten from her teachers and the refreshing and engaging material that we offer. Chloe would have said like she was so shy. She did not like public speaking when she first joined our program, but she actually discovered that she has a passion for public speaking after performing in our Shakespeare class, and she was elected to be the class speaker at our graduation ceremony for our 8th graders this past year. And so she's come a long way, and her story is just one of the many stories of the ways in which our students really grow in our program. Outside of academics, we have many transformational experiences for our students to engage in, because we're really about the development of the full child. So not just the mind, but also how are they developing the other skills that will lead to their success. As I had mentioned a little bit earlier, we offer a mentor program in which we match all of our students with a professional mentor, so a college graduate, and we pair students based on their interests. So they have a chance to get to know someone who, maybe pursued a path that they're interested in, but also an opportunity to connect with someone outside the classroom as they explore different opportunities within the city. So students will engage in game nights, museum trips, community service events with their mentors. That has adjusted a little bit in the virtual space, but students are still engaging even in the virtual context with their mentors and really reaping the benefits of having that kind of relationship. We also emphasize community service events. So all of our students will take advantage of different types of service learning opportunities, because we really do believe it's so important to stay connected to one's community and continually think about how you can give back to your community and continue to support the folks around you. We take our students on many different types of trips and opportunities to learn outside of the classroom. So trips to Broadway, Shakespeare in the Park, and many museums. We live in such a culture-rich city, and we want our students to be able to take advantage of those things. And even in the virtual space, we've still really increased the way that our students can have exposure to these different types of events and activities by offering speaker series. So having speakers from different professions come and talk to our middle school students about different pathways and different types of careers and jobs. When we're able to visit again, we also have students visiting different types of organizations. So all of us have heard of Google before, but most of us don't really know, what does it actually mean to be an engineer at Google? What do they do all day? What does that actually look like? And we want our students to learn about that in middle school, so they can walk around and really see, I can see myself working here. And other students will say, I cannot see myself working here at all. But that is really great information, because then they can know, okay, I want to pivot outside of maybe the tech world, and some other space is the right thing for me. So all of these experiences are really about exposure to help our students really understand who they want to be and what they want to do when they grow up. At the end of the middle school process, our students will engage in the high school placement process. So that's when all of our 8th graders apply to the different varieties of high schools here in the city and boarding schools outside of the city. So students will apply to four of different types of schools. So either independent day schools, which are private schools here in New York City, boarding schools, which are high schools that are outside of New York City, where students will go and actually sleep there. So they, depending on how far away it is, they'll come home on weekends. Others, they might, be there for the full semester and come home on school breaks. But that's a great opportunity that some of our students take advantage of. Screened schools. So those are, the specialized high schools and other schools that have a test entry to get in, public schools here in the city, and parochial schools. So the highly rigorous Catholic schools in the city. So depending on the student and the family, we see what's the best fit for the student, and support with the application process, with the financial aid process, and with test prep. One thing to note about the financial aid process is that we are supporting students in applying for financial aid. So Teak does not offer the scholarships themselves, so we don't pay for students to go to these great schools, but we have great relationships with all of these schools. So we are ensuring that our students receive the financial aid that they need in order to make attending these schools possible. I know some parents might be a little wary about the thought of boarding school, and I know it can sound a little bit intimidating, but it's actually a really great opportunity for some of our students. I'll have JC talk about it in a little bit, but we also know that you might be questioning that, so we give an opportunity for our students and the parents to get to know boarding school. So we have a 2-night boarding trip where students can go and actually sleep overnight in 8th grade, so see what that experience is like. The parents will come up for the day. Sorry, parents, you don't get to sleep over, but you still get to see what's this campus all about, how is this different from going to school in the city, how can this type of environment really be a great place for my child to thrive in their high school years. So before I go on, I'll actually have JC talk a bit about his experience. So not only is he an admissions counselor, but he's also a graduate of our program, and so he went to boarding school and then just graduated, class of 2020, from Wesleyan University. So we're so glad that he has decided to come back to Teak after graduation.
Hi everyone, my name is JC again. I went to Concord Academy, which is a small boarding school outside of Boston, Massachusetts. And it was a really hard decision to make to go to boarding school, but ultimately the opportunities I was afforded really solidified my choice. So when I went to Concord, I was able to take Chinese, and with that, I was able to go to Hong Kong and China, and I've always wanted to travel, and my boarding school really helped me fulfill that goal. Secondly, I was pretty shy as a kid, and at a lot of boarding schools, faculty live on campus. The majority of the faculty will live on campus, so I feel like you have more of an intimate and just comfortable relationship with your teachers, so you always feel comfortable to ask for help. And as a shy kid, that was honestly my saving grace. I really did well in school because I felt comfortable asking for help. And then lastly, the independence that you get at boarding school, I think truly prepared me for the college setting. Honestly, going to college was very much like a similar setting, small classes. I felt very comfortable around my teachers. And because I went to boarding school, I didn't get homesick my first year, which was something that made me stand out from a lot of my peers the first year I was in college. So overall, I think it's something to definitely consider. It's a choice I don't regret. But Teak was always here to help me with that decision. Thank you.
Thank you, JC. So I know this is a lot of information that we're throwing at you, and we'll stop for questions at the very end. But if you do have questions about JC and his experience, or about anything I've shared so far, feel free to drop those questions in the Q&A chat box, and I'll address those, or we will address those at the very end. Thanks so much, JC. So many of our fellows go on to attend many of the strongest schools in the city or boarding schools across the country, and a really wide variety of schools. So this is just a really small smattering of the schools that our students go to. So for example, Bronx High School of Science, which is a specialized high school in the Bronx, the Collegiate School, which is an all-boys independent school here in the city, Fordham Preparatory High School, which is a Catholic, all-boys Catholic school. So different types of schools depending on the students' needs and interests. And then, of course, we have our students going to boarding school. Some are close by, like at the Petty School, which is just about an hour away outside of the city. And some are as far away as California, Virginia, New Hampshire, so all over the country. The high school program and the college program shifts a bit as the students get older. So there's less of a focus on the academic preparation, and it's more of a transition into nurturing the interests and the skills that students want to cultivate as they prepare for college and for life after college. So we don't have the same after school programming and summer programming, because at this point, all of our students are at very competitive high schools, and they have, extracurriculars and other, things that they're engaged in at their schools. But we continue to offer support through our deaning system. So we have in-person check-ins and phone check-ins for all of our students. Again, that's adjusted a little bit in the COVID environment. Right now, we've been relying mostly on phone and Zoom check-ins, but when we can visit in person again, we actually go and visit every single one of our students, no matter where they're at school. So, it's easy for our students that are at school here in the city, but even our students that are, in boarding school and college out in California, in Texas, in down south in Georgia, wherever they are, we go their first year and check to make sure that they're adjusting well, they feel comfortable, and then we continue to check in with them throughout the year. We also have fellows forums, which are when students all come back together during school breaks so that they can discuss with each other, what have their experiences been like in high school. They can share stories, learn from each other, the challenges that they face, the successes that they've achieved. And we really want to nurture that fellowship environment for our students. We offer paid internships. So an internship is an opportunity for a student to learn about a specific industry or a job and get paid for it, which is great. So, if one of our students says, I'm really interested in being a lawyer, but I don't really know what that means, we want them to have an internship at a law firm where they can, talk to attorneys, they can understand what that process is like, and so they can really have a more informed understanding of what they'd like to do in the future. Of course, we are also making sure that our students get the college guidance and preparation that they need to have choices when they apply to college. So we want them all to feel excited about the types of schools that they get to apply to, and really come out of that process feeling empowered and excited to go off to university. Once students are in college, we have a professional coaching program, which is a mentor program. So students don't keep the same mentor all the way through, because their interests change. Of course, like when you're 12 years old, what you want to do will change a little bit by the time you're 19 or 20. And so once students are in college, we'll rematch them with mentors based on their interests, and hopefully that will be more aligned with what they think they might want to do in the future. But the support isn't just for the students, it's also for parents as well. We have a Teak Parents Association where we offer different workshops to make sure that parents, feel supported as, they also go through a transition of having their child go to high school and then eventually go to college. We support parents in the application process and financial aid process. And then it's also just a resource for parents to speak with each other and really learn from each other. And then, all of them will be excited one day when they're at senior send-off, like Michael and his mom. He's currently a first-year student at Cornell. And so it's a really celebratory event where families and students and staff can really be excited about the great journey that our students have gone on throughout Teak. So this is one of our students, Avery. She is currently a first-year student at Columbia University, so here in New York City. She graduated from the Kate School, which is a boarding school in California. So similarly to Chloe, I had a chance to chat with Avery about her experience, and here are some of the things that she shared. She shared that Teak is a community that you can rely on, and that classes at Kate were easier because of Teak. So she shared that, the preparation that she had through our program didn't just make her, get into a great school, but really successful there. And that's what we hope for. We don't want students to get into a great school and then be at the bottom of the class and struggling. We want them to really feel like they are strong academically so that they can take advantage of all of the resources that are at that school. So the extracurricular activities, they can take advanced classes and not feel like they're struggling to keep up. And Avery definitely took advantage of the resources at her school. So she was the student body president. So she's actually the first African-American student to be the president of her school, which is, a huge accomplishment. She learned Python, which is a computer programming language. She went to Morocco on an international service trip. When she was back here in New York City, she interned at Dream Yard, which is a community theater program. So these are just a few of the things that Avery has done during her high school years with the support of Teak and her school, Kate. And this is just one snapshot of the many types of things that our students will do throughout their high school years. Many of our fellows will go on to attend the most competitive colleges in the country, and a really different, wide variety of schools based again on students' interests, their strengths, and also, just where they want to be in the country. So we have students at Ivy League schools like Brown University, Cornell, Columbia, Princeton, which is where I went. Ooh, ooh, go Tigers. We have students at small liberal arts colleges like Amherst College and Wesleyan. We have students, out in California at Claremont McKenna, or here close by, in Philadelphia at Penn or in many other schools. So these schools listed are places that we have over 3 students, but there's a really wide range of schools based on the needs and the interests of our students that they end up attending. So with all of this, I want to highlight our commitment to access and affordability. So Teak is a free program, meaning that we cover all the costs associated with programming for the full 10 years. So from 12 to 22, all of the academic courses, the Chromebook that students get, transportation to and from our classes, and any academic supplies are covered by Teak. What is not covered is the scholarships to actually go to the school. So just to remind you, Teak works closely with the families to help them, apply for financial aid and obtain really competitive financial aid awards, but we aren't providing the funds ourselves. That said, many of our students are able to go to these fantastic schools either for, $0 or for very minimal, like, maybe $1,000 for the entire 4 years that they go to a high school. So really affordable opportunities in places that are normally charging $40,000 to $50,000 a year. So we want to make sure that our students have access to these great educational experiences. Hopefully something I've said has piqued your interest in Teak and you're wondering, okay, this all sounds great. How do I apply? So I'll now highlight our eligibility requirements. So first, students must be current 6th grade students at a New York City middle school. I know that, because of COVID, families may be living in different places than they normally do, potentially based on the circumstances of the pandemic. However, the students need to be students that attend a current New York City public school. So even if you are currently living in New Jersey, but the student is still attending a New York school virtually, you're still eligible. However, if you do not attend a New York school, unfortunately, you would not be eligible for the program. The students must be U.S. citizens or permanent legal residents. Parent status is not required. Students must come from a family with financial need, and I'll discuss that in the next slide. And then we're looking for students that receive 90s and above in their academic classes. So we look at the 5th grade and 6th grade report card to determine eligibility. We understand that last year was a unprecedented year where many of the schools became pass-fail or just meets expectations for their 5th grade report card. And so that is fine as long as students, passed all of their classes in 5th grade. And then, when they apply now in 6th grade, that they're continuing to do well in their classes. And then we also are looking at attendance record and looking for students that have a strong attendance. In terms of financial eligibility, Teak uses a holistic process to determine eligibility by considering a variety of factors. I would say the primary factor that we look at is household income. So families whose income is below 100% area median income in New York City are eligible to apply. So if you look at this chart on the right, look at your household size, and if your household income is less than that number, then you're eligible to apply. So for a family of 4 making less than 113,000, then you are eligible. If you make more, unfortunately, you would not be eligible for our program. However, I'm happy to make recommendations based on your individual circumstances. Income is important, but it is not the only factor that influences a family's finances. We also look into real estate access, assets, and other circumstances that may impact your financial situation. If you have questions about your individual circumstances and whether you'd be eligible, please feel free to call us or email us, and I'll share our information at the very end. But we do, because we are a program that commits to serving low-income students and students that otherwise wouldn't have these opportunities, we do have pretty rigorous financial requirements. So how to apply. So first, we'll ask that you respond to our feedback email. So right after this session, in the morning tomorrow, we will send an email asking, are you interested in applying, moving forward with the process, and ask for a few details. And so you'll just need to respond to us to confirm that you're still interested in applying, and we will then release the application to you when it becomes available in October. Next, we'll ask that you submit the 5th grade report card as soon as possible. And I know that it can be, some schools are a little bit faster than others in giving out that 5th grade report card. You do have time, but the sooner the better that you can submit that and get started with the process. And then lastly, completing the online application. So the application will go live on October 5th. That's when we'll send the application details. It's not due until January, so you have plenty of time, but we do want you to be able to see the application questions and get started with that process. There are several application components. One is the student statement. So we have several questions that we ask of the students. So short answer questions and an essay question. Then we have the parent statement, 2 questions that we ask of parents. And we're not checking for grammar or, they don't need to be really long essays. We're really just interested in learning a little bit more about your interest in the program for your child, as well as, what your child's greatest strength is. We require 2 letters of recommendation. One needs to be from a current 6th grade teacher, and then the other can be from another adult that knows the child well that's not a family member. So this could be a 5th grade teacher, a guidance counselor, a principal, or it could be someone outside of school. So potentially, a sports team coach, a religious community leader, or another adult mentor that perhaps is within your community that could speak to your child's character and abilities. And then lastly, we require families to submit information about their finances. In the first round application, it's just self-reported. So, you don't have to send any documents. You're just inputting the answers to the questions to the best of your ability. We do recommend that when you fill out that section, you refer to your 2019 tax returns in order to make sure that the information is as accurate as possible. If you did not file tax returns in 2019, you can just let us know, and when it comes time to submit the official documentation, we can let you know what what alternative documents you can send in that case. So there are 2 major application rounds. So the first round includes the online or the paper application, 2 letters of recommendation, and the 5th and 6th grade report cards. All of that is due January 20th at 5 p.m. Regarding the paper application, it is highly preferred that you apply online. However, if that's not going to be feasible for you, we are happy to share with you a printed PDF of the application. We'll mail it to you and give you an envelope to mail it back to us. We definitely prefer the online application, but we're happy to provide that for families that need it. I know January seems like it's really far off, but I mean, it's already October tomorrow. So this fall is kind of flying by, and we want to give you a lot of time to gather all the information that you need. So you have plenty of time to be able to submit this application. It should not take you 3 months to submit. If you did it all in one go, it would probably take maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours. But that said, we want to make sure that you have time to complete the application. The round 2 application is for all of our finalists. So we will go through all the applications in January, and then from there make our selections about the students that we are moving forward in the process. We will ask the finalists to take an admissions exam and also complete a student and family interview. And it's at that point that we'll ask for the official financial documentation. So that'll include a W-2, a federal tax return, or other documents depending on your circumstances. And all of that will be due in March. We release our final decisions at the end of April, beginning of May, and then the programming will begin in the spring of 2021. So that is, in a nutshell, what Teak is. I know it's a lot, but we're happy to take your questions now. Thank you so much for being here this evening. If you have any questions at all, big or small, we are here to help you. So please jot down this number, 212-288-6678, extension 104. If you prefer to talk to us in Spanish, there are 2 lines. Either JC or Megan would be happy to talk to you. Sorry, unfortunately, you just stuck with me if you speak English, but I'm nice too. And feel free to email us as well. So I'll stop there and look and see if we have any questions. I think I saw one question in the chat regarding our students eligible from Catholic schools. Yes, so if you attend a public school, charter school, or a Catholic school in New York City, you are eligible to apply. Are there any other questions? In which location is the Queens School? So our Queens location is at the Kew Forest School normally, which is in Kew Gardens. Right now, everything is virtual, so you won't be at that location necessarily if we're still virtual next year, but that's likely where we'll be next fall.
We have one in the Q&A. It says, are you going to send us the application by mail? So we, as Danielle mentioned, we prefer that the application be submitted online, but we do understand that some families might not have access to it online. So if you do need it by paper, by mail, you can definitely shoot us an email and let us know that you need a paper application. Give us the best address to send it to, and we will send that to you so you can fill it
out. There was another question, how many students will be admitted at last? So we admit 45 students. So about 300 students apply every year, and we narrow that down to 45 students a year.
There's also another question in the Q&A for the summer program, where will it be held? So the Summer Institute this past year was virtual, so we're hoping that, you know, things go back to some type of normalcy next year. So it would be held, it would be held in the offsite, but if we still have to be virtual, then we would notify parents.
So our Manhattan location is at the Browning School, which is on 62nd Street and Park Avenue. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you all so much for your attention. Like I said, any questions at all, feel free to reach out to us. We will submit the recording of this session if you want to go back and review any of it in our follow-up email. Remember to reply to us if you're interested in continuing to apply. Thank you so much and have a fantastic evening. Oh, I see 2 more questions before we go. So will the admissions test be in person? To be determined. So if it is safe to have an in-person exam in March, we will. If it is not, we will have a virtual exam. Are you going to notify parents when the application is available? Yes, so we will notify you when the application is available. It'll be available October 5th, and we will send out the link for you to apply. All righty, it looks like that's all. So thank you all so much and have a great evening.